Hey everyone, so today I thought it would be lovely to kind of show you, I'm not going to actually make it, but I'm going to show you how I make my smoothies. So I make smoothies just about every single day, and it's also like the same exact recipe every single time. Mainly because it can be cheaper that way, and it just I like this smoothie, and and I don't usually like to play it up too much. I've tried numerous smoothies in the past, and this is just the one that I found that really provides me that energy. It also provides me that it provides me from not feeling hungry, right? So satiated. That was the word I was trying to think of. Sorry. I was like, I know it was a word, but okay. Anyways, so I just wanted to show you everything that I use. And then you obviously are just going to put it in a blender and then blend it. Like, it's pretty simple. But I had already made my smoothie, and then after I made it, I was like, oh man, I should have done it while I was, actually making the smoothie. But whatever. This is totally fine as well. So first we start off with our powdered stuff. So the powdered stuff is usually what I put in first. And so that typically includes some cinnamon. So I usually put just like a couple little, I'm terrible with measuring things, so I'm very sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm a huge person, I just eyeball it and I'm like, yeah, that's good. So I really just like shake it and just like give it a couple shakes, like maybe back and forth like 4 times. So I would imagine it'd probably roughly estimate to about maybe like a half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Yeah, that would probably be good enough. So cinnamon, I use cinnamon. I use it mainly for like a flavoring, but also, I mean, cinnamon all on its own has a lot of like health benefits, right? It's really good for blood sugar regulation, so it's super important to have, especially when you're trying to like have like some form of meal replacer. You really want to make sure that your blood sugar doesn't get too low or too high. A next thing that we use, or that I use, is none of these are also in their original packaging for the most part, so bear with me. I'll just tell you what they are because I know what they are. So this is cacao. Here, I'll pull it out. There. So this is like the measuring scoop. You usually put, if you're gonna make a smoothie, a big smoothie, so this is also, I should have mentioned that it's a big smoothie that you make two 32 ounces, I believe is what it is. So you make 2 big ones. And so you usually fill it all the way to the top, and this is cacao, remember? So this is, it's essentially just chocolate, but it's chocolate in all of its medicinal form. So it has, it's not like the sugar, it doesn't have the butter, it doesn't have anything else in it besides like ground up cacao bean is really what this is, which ground up cacao bean, or the cacao plant itself, is like super good for you. It's definitely a superfood. This is definitely one of my favorite superfoods. It's chocolate, so why not? So this gives it the flavor as well. So it's gonna have a slight chocolatey flavor by adding the cacao. It's a really great way. It's a really great way to add that chocolate or that flavoring into it, especially because I don't anymore buy protein shake powder. So this is all stuff also that like I just make on my own as far as what the protein powder would actually look like. So this would be the chocolate like flavoring to the protein powder is I guess what it would be. Next up, we have our oats. Sorry, it is so hard to see. Let me turn this down. There we go. All right, so we have our oats. Let it focus for a minute. There it is. We usually put in about a handful. You just go in there and you put it in, and it's about, if I were to judge as far as how much is in it, remember really bad at like measuring. That's usually not my style of cooking, is, you know, I don't usually go by measurements. It would be like about a half a cup to a full cup, and it just depends on how thick you want it. So that's what the oats are for. The oats are not only like, do they, you know, provide their own nutritional benefit, fiber being the number one, but they make the smoothie thicker, so it's not so thin and runny, which is also what provides the feeling of being full, right? So you really need the oats in there if you are really wanting to create like a really nourishing and you know, satiated smoothie. So far we got the cinnamon, the cacao, and the oats. Then we have our flaxseed. Love flaxseed. It's another amazing superfood, which I'll get into my superfoods, you know, in another video, because it was asked of me. So I will not get into why I love flaxseed too much, but remember that flaxseed, ground up flaxseed is like what you really want. You can get normal, like the actual seed itself, but it just has better properties when it's ground up, and it's just easier to use. This is also used as like a thickening agent as well, because you can actually create like an egg sort of substance from flaxseed, which I can show you, you know, in the future as well. It's relatively easy. So it's an amazing thing. We put ours in the fridge because it lasts longer in the fridge, because it just lasts longer in the fridge. So just do it. So flaxseed, and how much flaxseed? So we usually put, one second. Let me grab a spoon. So we usually do, we just scoop it. Come on, I don't want it to fall everywhere. So scoop like this. Do about one. You can experiment, maybe you could do two. You just don't want to do too much of the flaxseed when you've already put a lot of the oats in there, because they're both thickener agents, and so the smoothie just can become really thick, and when it becomes really thick, it's not enjoyable to eat or to drink. We've done that more than once, and it was a struggle getting it down. And then the last three powders is, we have chaga powder. Chaga, love it. Oh my goodness. It is another superfood. It is a mushroom. So it's chaga mushroom. So the chaga mushroom is really interesting. Just a quick little like tidbit on it. It doesn't taste like any other mushroom. Like the thought when you think of like a mushroom, you know, like it usually has like a very distinctive like flavor. Chaga does not. Chaga almost doesn't have a flavor, which makes it really, really great to put into things. And a lot of times people use like chaga tea. So you can find like a chaga tea elixir if you want to, you know, incorporate chaga into your diet that way. That, I mean, obviously you're more than, you know, feel free to do that. I just find it so much simpler and so much easier to add it into my smoothie because, you know, it's just, for me, it was just easy. And you do not need a lot of it, like at all. Like their recommended use is only about 1/4 of a teaspoon. So this entire bag can last you, I think they say, 300. So the serving size, or the serving per container, is about 300 to 600 scoops. That's a lot. Like this has lasted us almost 4 months, and we just passed the halfway mark. So it lasts you a while, and it's not relatively expensive for how long it's going to like last or to keep. So the last two powdered items are the most important thing to have. So this is where it would be the actual protein behind the protein powder. And they are phenomenal superfoods. They are I would highly recommend putting them into your diet. And this is just the easiest way to put them into your diet. I will note that when you put them into the smoothie, your smoothie will be a sort of gross looking color. So as a forewarning, and I'll show you what mine looks like in a minute. And you'll okay, I'll just show you. So the first thing is spirulina. It's green, so it will give the smoothie a like green tint. It stains anything and everything. It's a blue-green algae is really what it is. And it is phenomenal. It's got complete protein in it, so you do not have to worry about not getting enough protein. This little sucker will do it for you. Another thing, we bought a bag. It was maybe a little bigger than this bag, than the chaga. It was probably actually as big as the flaxseed bag, and that's what came in the spirulina. And because you do not need a lot of it, so you see this little tiny spoon. Sometimes we don't even fill that all the way up. It says about like a teaspoon, but we sometimes even only put like a half a teaspoon, which is more than enough, or more than a serving size. So you just, fill it up and then, dump it into your smoothie. So that's spirulina. You can use spirulina all on its own. You do not need the second powder that I'm going to show you. I just recommend it because they are very like symbiotic. They work very symbiotically. So they work really well together is really what I'm saying. And that is chlorella. So spirulina and chlorella are both blue-green algae. Let me see if I can get this over here. There we go. And chlorella looks exactly like spirulina, except for it's a little darker. I don't know if you can see that. It looks the same in here, but it's a little darker. And you need just the same amount. So that's why we only use about half of them, because we put 2 of green algae powders into the smoothie itself. So we just know that, we don't need as much in it. So spirulina and chlorella, amazing superfoods, both have complete protein. They have B12. I mean, they have it all in reality. Like they're super awesome. And like I said, I'll do a whole nother post on all of some of these other superfoods that I have mentioned, and like the direct health benefit that they can actually offer you outside of protein. So this is where I get my protein primarily. So those are the powders. So you put all of your powders in at the bottom. So you put them in the bottom of your blender, and then you would then put in peanut butter. Yum. And for peanut butter, you can put as much or as little as you want. This is totally by your call or your judgment. This we put in primarily, strictly just for flavor. You can taste that there's a difference when you don't use the peanut butter versus when you do use the peanut butter. So I just highly recommend using the peanut butter. And like I said, you can use as little or as much as you want. That's totally up to you. We just use the same spoon that we use the flaxseed with, and just scoop it out. Let me just get some of this out of the way. The next thing is the bananas, which are over on the table, and I just won't even grab them because I think you all know what bananas look like. So that's the only fruit that we actually put into this smoothie is a banana. So that's our base. And that just gives it its flavor and also holds its texture, its consistency. So the berries, we used to do berries, but frozen berries, especially frozen organic berries, are super expensive. And it just wasn't within our budget. We were like, we can't really, I was like, why? Like, why would I want to spend, like $10, $15 on, a small bag of frozen fruit when it's only going to last us maybe 3 days, maybe 4. So, I mean, we're spending, you'd be spending a lot of money just on frozen fruit. Although I would recommend that in the summer to go pick your own fruit, wherever your local, fruit orchard or whatever is. There's tons of them here in Portland, so I'm very, very grateful for that. So you pick your own fruit and then you freeze it. So that way you can have, cheaper fruit, like berries that you can throw into your smoothies. But needless to say, we use bananas because it's the cheaper option. Like, that's just flat out why we use it. So we use about a banana and a half per smoothie. So since we use one big smoothie, we use 4 bananas. This is essentially what we're using. Then after you put your bananas in, you are then going to put your milk. We use either almond milk, or this week, because they had a sale on it, we are using cashew milk as well. Cashew is amazing. It's so creamy and like thick. It's really good. So you put your milk in there, and you usually, how much milk you put in it is so you keep filling it all the way until the milk reaches the top of the bananas. So you want it to be filled all with like liquid. So whatever, all the powder and everything is just going to be filled. And then at the end of that, you're then going to put your ice cubes in. It's very bright. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not focusing there. So you can just put your ice cubes in. And it really depends. So we've really messed with how many ice cubes you put in it. We found that for a big smoothie like that, to get the right like coldness and texture, you usually are going to have to use about anywhere between like 6 to 8 cubes. And you want them to be pretty like thick cubes as well, like the full, like not half, like not filled halfway, but like a full on cube. So about 6 to 8, you definitely are gonna want to play around with some of the variations and figure out what works best for you. These are just what works best for us, but I would definitely highly recommend putting in or adding in some of these items, especially the powdered stuff, into your smoothies if you don't already. So that is it. That is all that we use in our smoothies. I know it seems like a lot, but we don't buy the protein powder anymore, so it's not just like 1 scoop of this. And we don't buy it for multiple reasons, mainly for health. Like I just researched more on spirulina and chlorella, and I was like, I would much rather get my protein and all of my other vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients from them. So that was the main reason why. So that is how I make my smoothies. I just figured I would show you guys, what I use and how I make it, because I think it was last week I made the video on my juicing and, my favorite juice that we make with the ginger and lemon and kale and carrots and apples. And then somebody mentioned about how they do smoothies, and I was like, ooh, I would love to show you all, what I use for my smoothie. So, with that being said, if you have any questions, or, you want to learn more about, other recipes that I've used, I'll try to, remember them. But like I said, this is definitely our go-to smoothie by far. Oh, and I did say that I would show you quick the color. Mind you, remember I said the color is going to be kind of gross, but the taste is not terrible, at all. Oh, here, I'll just put it in this cup. See that? So it's gonna be green. It's gonna be like a green brown. And I know you're probably going to think that it's going to taste like the spirulina, but it's not. Spirulina, it has a very pungent flavor, it has a pungent smell, but the flavor, because you don't put much in it, and because you're using, the cacao and the cinnamon and the peanut butter and the oats and the bananas, all of that totally masks any, fishy sort of flavor you think it would ever have. So I promise you it's not going to taste like you just dug something out of the ocean. Because I would not eat it, trust me. All right, that is how I make my smoothies every single day. They're, like I said, they're super filling, super nutritious, and really gut healthy friendly for sure. Lots of superfoods in there. All right, yeah, like I said, if you have any questions or comments, put them below. Until next time.